let's take a look at this Fuso starting grid. 27th race of the season. Mark Winterbottom, 4th pole position of the year and 4th here against Whincup, our series leader. Row 2 belongs to Jason Bright. He's on the soft tyres. Shane Van Gisbergen starting from position number 4. That's about 5 spots better than he's ever started here. James Moffat, equal career best start after he also qualified 5th in Abu Dhabi. Fabian Coulthard and James Courtney positions 7 and 8. James Courtney is on the soft tyre. Rick Kelly and David Reynolds make up our top 10. There is Garth Tander. He's got Tony D'Alberto alongside of him. Garth's 195th championship event start. Steve Owen and Michael Caruso, who's already flagged his intentions to move on next year from Fujitsu. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. Lowndes and Will Davison, 15 and 16. Alex Premer and Tim Slade tucked in behind them. Jono Webb, his 50th career event start with Taz Douglas. Then Carl Reindler and Russell Ingall make up positions 21 and 22. And as I run you through the rear of the grid, the reason why I highlighted positions 15 and 16, we're just not used to seeing Lowndes and Davison caught in the mid-pack. And if you throw in the 10 cars on the soft tyres and all the other stuff you can throw in at Winton Motor Raceway, I think we're looking for a pretty chaotic start.
I quizzed Will Davison about qualifying just literally as he got out of the car, and he said he couldn't stop it. Rear brakes lock, he's no grip. It was just really strange. So he was diving into the truck for a very solid debriefing process. We go on board here now with championship leader Jamie Whincup. It'll be a front row start. There's the man that he's got to race to that first corner, and now we jump on board with Mark Winterbottom. Capped off at the top of the show, the situation between the two of them. 9 times in the last 13 races, the Queensland-based teams have snuck south of the border, grabbed the gold and bolted back north again. So history's on this side. James Moffat, a bit of speculation around what he may or may not be doing next year as well. He's in the Norton DJR entry at the moment, car number 18. And he and Ian Walburn, Wally Walburn, his engineer, as you heard him talk about on the grid there, have certainly clicked. They've found a little bit of speed in the recent past. Good time of the year to be looking speedy.
4, 3, 2, 1, half a metre. Stop there, perfect. Laterally, you're great, mate. Perfect.
We were staggered in Abu Dhabi. How many guys gave metres away at the start, Matty, with drivers not pulling right to the front of the start boxes? Obviously a little closer here, but easier to manage, but it was amazing how many gave precious ground away.
Oh, absolutely. This will be a very difficult start because the grip level is totally different from the soft to the hard tyre, and also the amount of sunlight that's come out. You've just said it before, the grip level will definitely be down compared to qualifying.
So watch for Bright. He's the
Last car in place.
first car on a soft tyre, then James Moffat's the second
flag,
car. They'll be
green
quick.
flag.
But at the front, this is a true title fight. Winterbottom second in the championship against Whincup, going for his 4th series crown. And our pole sitter got bogged down a little bit, so that means that Jamie Whincup will go firing off to turn 1 with clear air in front of him. Van Gisbergen holds his line into 3rd. Around turn 2, oh, Bright gets it wide on the dirt.
He and Moffat made contact, and Coulthard down the inside now, and it's going to be contact down here. Bright goes round, Courtney was in his door. Bright had problems at the start as well. It looked like he might have even had to restart that car. But that all started at turn 2 with he and James Moffat, and if he can't get out of there, we've got Caruso beached as well.
This will be a safety car because you won't get out of there now.
A big mound in front of car 34. So Jason Bright's troubles
We've got a safety
on the
car
exit.
here for sure. There's another car stopped.
And no question. So Bright's out of the mess, and the safety car has.
Clutch grabbed on me and it sort of screwed the start, but for sure.
Safety car's been activated.
So I saw his car bobble in the background of our shot, and it started to take off on him, and he stopped and got going. So it was a tardy start for him, and then when he got down to turns 1 and 2, Bright was getting boxed all over the place because he was a bit out of phase in pace.
I don't know who made contact. Was it Moffat?
Yes.
Was it? Yeah.
Car, right, mate, or is it damaged?
So that's Michael Caruso.
That's him on scene now.
It's Tim Shankin in race control there.
Now that's Winterbottom.
Okay. You're on deck. Round the techno, boys. Round the techno. Coming to stop on the mark.
So they're going to make a tyre change here.
So remember, all of these guys started on the harder compound tyre.
So we're going to have to work together on the exit. Work together on the exit. Watch Lowndes, go, 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 go.
And on go the softs.
The problem with this is that you just give away track position and you're absolutely buried now.
Good to go, all clear, all clear.
So the answer to the question about the damage is evident on screen there now, with Caruso damaged the front left corner, and you can see Bright tardy away from the start. Now watch, Moffat makes a direction change. He was going down the inside, and then he goes left. So Wincup's bolted, Frosty drops into second, Shane's in third, and then they negotiate one, but just as they turn at two, James runs wide in the yellow car and bumps Jason Bright right there. Bright wobbles off the road, and then it all gets ugly up in the old turn one. And around goes Bright with Courtney on the inside of him. Wheel spin for Mark Winterbottom. There goes your pole before he grabs second gear.
It's a bad start, wasn't it? Wincup, very good start. So this is on board now with Moffat up the inside. So this is turn two. This is the contact that Neil made reference to. Bang, off he goes. But it'll be interesting now to see who gets Bright. This, I think, is Courtney. So turn in, bang. Courtney got him, Rick Kelly passed. So difficult one there because Jason Bright needed to turn down.
And he was also up higher than he'd like to be because Rick Kelly was underneath him. So the replay there shows at turn two pretty much precisely what's gone on. Here it is again from another angle. It's the one we initially saw of Bright rotating, Courtney underneath him, Rick Kelly on the inside.
I guess the question for James Courtney is, where does he go in that situation?
Well, that's true. And that is a drama. Look at the bumping and pushing and shoving, getting into the pit lane. This is like Dodgem car stuff.
This is typical end of season stuff.
See that at Luna Park.
You got the feeling there that James Courtney was caught with nowhere to go but into Jason Brighton. Also, just coming out of turn one, Lee Holdsworth got a little rub against Bright as well. So it was first contact with Bright and Holdsworth, second contact Moffat and Bright, and then third contact that pretty much ended it was Courtney into Bright, and then Michael Caruso with front left damage found himself beached, but has now made it back to pit lane. With an adjustment to the right height steering.
So pretty severely bent steering arm on that car, which they'll need to look long and hard at. I don't think, yes, they're now doing that. So sticking the wheel back on wasn't the immediate answer. So they've put the incompressible jacks in under there to make sure that that car's safe for someone to go underneath it.
Thank you, safety car. Will have lights out now. All lights out, all lights out. Accelerate away from the field. Car one to hold speed. Important car one.
So
safety car we're using hasn't got the performance of the previous one.
So the
car one must hold speed.
Petter's STP safety car looks like it's getting a fair workout through turn 7, 8, 9 up there at the moment. Bit of understeer. It's right at its limit.
Now, isn't it a cruel sport? Jason Bright qualifies fantastically, makes a bad start. He's on the soft tyre. He's probably going to lead this race within 2 or 3 laps. Makes a bad start, gets caught up in all the drama, and is 15th now in the queue.
But there's been a massive transposition in those that are now on the soft tyre. It's where we started the race in favour of hards with a smattering of people, 10 of them on the soft tyre.
Green.
Winterbottom will run 2 sets of softs now. So he'll come in his next phase and put another set of softs. So it's actually quite an interesting strategy as we get the restart underway.
Wincup is right where he wants to be. Where he was at the start here after getting a terrific start first time around. He leads them away and instantly puts a gap on Lee Holdsworth.
And what matters there for Wincup is track position. They just weren't prepared to give away track position for anything fancy, whereas FPR have decided to play that card. So as Mark said, they may well go now with 2 sets of soft tyres. They've met their requirement to use both sets of tyres. That's a rule in this race and tomorrow's race. But the problem for Frosty, he's 16th. There's 15 guys he's got to race, and they don't give spots up lightly at Winton or anywhere. Here comes Moffat on the inside, soft tyre. That's P2 and easy. He's got a lot more grip available to him at the moment. He uses it to good effect.
James Moffat may have been involved, of course he was involved in that hip and shoulders on Jason Bright, but he showed a as Garth Tander goes around on the inside as well, and Garth is the next in the queue on the soft tyres. But James Moffat showed a cool head as Rick Kelly gets some grass action at that start, because he wanted to have a dive on the inside of Jason Bright, who didn't get a good start. He could have easily run up the rear of car 8. Showed a wise head to spear off to the right.
That was messy then. We both flinched in the commentary box. Here comes Steve Owen down the inside of Will Davison. For Will, that all started on the exit of turn 9 when Rick ended up getting bumped wide onto the grass, and then Will was too wide on the approach to turn 10. It's dirty there. So Tander and Rick Kelly were the protagonists. Watch this. Little hip and shoulder action on the exit, which ended up forcing Rick completely into the weeds. And then Will had no choice but to go down the outside. So now Moffat is ranging up on the lead here as Tander is too. He's on the soft tyre, remember. So massive difference in lap speed, grip availability. He's now 4th, Tander. Moffat's 2nd and lurking on the lead.
Yeah, Neil, and to expand on your point, the general thinking down pit lane here for a lot of them is they're going to run this as like literally a 2 soft tyre race. So what Jamie Winkup's up against, he's got 1 set of hards, 1 set of softs, racing a whole pack behind him on 2 sets of soft. This is going to be tough for him.
Position 3 now for Garth Tander. Thanks for the update, Larko. And Lee Holdsworth knows that Garth's on the softer tyre, so he didn't turn down on him up in the top right-hander. Left him some easy space there. This will be a move down at turn 11. We're approaching turn 10 now. James Moffat on the attack. Very rare to pass on the inside there, but the next one's doable. So he gets the good exit. Look at the extra traction grip. Gives him a little bump. Oof, that was actually a bit ordinary, all that, wasn't it?
I couldn't actually work out what had gone on in terms of, did they actually make contact?
It looked like it.
Yeah.
A bit early in the race for all that.
So he got a good run, and now he's got a great run on Wincup down into turn 1.
Very clever driving on behalf of Jamie Wincup here. He knows every corner, every lap, he can keep James at bay, will help him at the other end of the race. Well done.
And now he surrenders that position at turn 3.
Not too easily. He just gave him a bump on the way out of it just to help him. I think he just returned the serve then on the previous bump out of turn 10. So we'll just get a look at this for you. So a much better exit for Moffat, and he bumps the back. You can see there the contact. So he's actually flicked him. And when they're like that and they make contact, it almost fired him in the fence. Just have a listen here. See there. So when the 2 cars were in contact together, that almost went in the fence there for Wincup. That was big time.
But James did fan the throttle.
Behind is now in front.
Came off the throttle, which actually then stopped that from being a big problem for Jamie. Otherwise, he could turn it around. And look at this pack. It's got disaster written all over it, hasn't it?
Certainly. Look at this. The contact here with Prema and Greg Murphy. David Reynolds in the middle of all that. Winterbottom has just got by Jason Bright. He was behind him for 15th and 16th before, so he's made a spot. And there we said, bit of
Prema and Greg Murphy.
crystal ball
turn
into
10.
Compton. You just said it. There it was.
Well, there was a freight train there. Positions 13 down to 26 are all on the soft tyres. Here they all come.
James Moffat's bolted. He's already got a huge air gap back to Jamie. Here we are on board with Mark Winterbottom. This is 15th. Tucked up behind Tim Blanchard, subbing for Todd Kelly, Jack Daniels Racing.
This is what you made mention of, Crompo. This is the difficult part for Winterbottom now. It puts him back down. He's got to fight past Blanchard, past Fiore, who's on softs. Carl Reindler's also in the list on softs there. He's got to fight past 3 or 4 guys before he has a bit of an even break or a better break against the guys on hards.
It's very difficult to pick the tyre side walls at a distance, but if you look for that orange light in behind the windscreen, you'll see who's on the soft tyre. Tander's on it at the moment. That's good for position now 2. So soft tyres on the Moffat and Tander cars 1 and 2. Back here with Tim Blanchard, David Reynolds and Mark Winterbottom at turn 9. Davy's in a bad spot here. Here's that little asphalt berm on the left. Just to try and launch the cars off here. Now Frosty down the inside of his teammate at 10. That's where all the trouble was with Prema and Murphy the lap earlier. And Greg Murphy's come to the pit lane incidentally. Here it is in replay. This is on the run to turn 10.
Oh, bad lock-up, and he was never going to be able to get that done. That was Actually, that for Prema was a bit unfortunate with that one because he turned in and Greg had the wheel locked. He couldn't get it stopped.
He's been complaining this weekend and the previous about the brakes on the car. They had a look at the master cylinders yesterday, the brake master cylinders, to try and resolve it, but he's been very unhappy with the brake performance, and this is the super slow-mo, so that when Alex sees the replay at home, when he goes home, he can relive it frame by frame. And it's just as painful no matter what the speed.
So here's Holdsworth and Owen. Owen on the softer tyres. Lee Holdsworth on the harder compound. So James Moffat and Garth Tander lead the way on softs. Whincup is third. Then it's Holdsworth and Owen as we're watching. That position should change any tick of the clock. Russell Ingall's going with them, and so too is Stephen Johnson. So it's young James Moffat. Fastest lap of the race, a 1:25.3. He's got a 2.5 second lead here at Winton.
I'm out.
Recover with it, pick it up. Come in, mate, we'll get it fixed.
Leon's is a muppet.
Okay, mate, it's going flat. It's going flat. Just be careful.
Nah, it's broken, not flat.
Welcome back. A sorry tale is unfolding here in pit lane as Will Davison comes in with steering damage and Shane Van Gisbergen a flat front right tyre and probably some damage to attend to as well. It all unfolded just while we're in the ad break there, and it's exactly what we've been saying. This mid-pack, this angry mid-pack, all getting caught into each other.
It's just, yeah, not right.
That's the voice of Will Davison, so he was also saying that it may not have been right before that. Now here we go, here's the replay. That's Tim Blanchard, Jack Daniels' entry. There's Will, who got a bump, I think, from Lowndes. Shane Van Gisbergen's in the middle of all this as well.
And that was the camera from Mark Winterbottom, so he was on that as well. So remember here that Will Davison's on the hardest compound tyre. He's the meat in the sandwich. And look at Winterbottom, just on the outside, clips the side of Tim Blanchard. The two big victims in that one, Davison now in the garage, Van Gisbergen also in pit lane, heading back out there.
In fact, I think it was Shane Van Gisbergen that was actually the one on the inside that gave the thump, because Lowndes was another car back. So it's all going on, Lucko.
Yeah, Shane Van Gisbergen back out there. It ended up just being that right front tyre, but as a driver often does, he obviously felt there was something wrong in the front. The boys had a good look around it, but shipped it all okay.
Yeah, guys, FPR definitely not over-thrilled with Shane Van Gisbergen and his work there on Will Davison. Broken suspension. That's pretty much, that will be it for Will today.
All right, game over for Will Davison. James Moffat has a 4.4 second lead over Garth Tander, both on the softer compound tyres. Jamie Whincup holding his own in third position. And that's the critical thing for our championship leader. The top 6 guys, 5 of them are on the soft tyres. The only one who's not is Whincup. He's holding down the times accordingly.
Remember, this is also a race that you're going to have to stop and grab fuel. Mark Larkham explained at the top his fury down the inside of Carl Reindler, who's been in the wars.
Pit lane penalty, black flag number 51, Greg Murphy for that contact on Alex Premer. So this time around it's a 125.7 for Moffat, a 126.3 for Tander, both on softs, a 126.6 for Whincup. So he's only 0.3 of a second different to Garth Tander.
And that's a good lap time of Moffat's because he's got the lead out now to almost 5 seconds, 4.95 at the moment, as we're on board now with Greg Murphy after that infringement there with Alex Premer at turn 10. And look at the damage on the front of the Pepsi Max Holden Commodore.
He had it locked up for 75 metres, didn't he? And then ultimately just barreled down there and cracked down the inside. This is the super slow-mo turn 1, Steve Owen. Car number 49. He's 4th in the field at the moment and motoring along nicely on the Dunlop super soft tyre.
Oh, when it lands inside the curb there,
it's nasty. The inside of the rim.
So much force and
kicks it up again.
So when you do that, when you have the car on the fly, you've got to be able to organise the car to land nicely. The whole way of achieving that nice curb line is to make it not upset the car too much. And as we just saw, if you do it wrong, it can flick the car again in a sort of a secondary bump and bounce it to the centre. So Bright now is in 15th position still with Tim Slade right behind.
Yeah, the interesting dynamic in this race, isn't it, is Jamie Whincup and his tyres, because I'm just watching the Triple Eight boys here operate, and they're watching the guys on softs like a hawk and their times. You can see the difference between hard and soft with Jamie at the moment. Seems to be come down to about 0.3 of a second. Now, that's obviously going to get to a crossover point. That's where that crossover point is really Jamie's big hope here, because he's on that hard tyre, he can run longer, get that track position back, and then it's soft on for everyone at the end of the race. It'll be great to watch.
Tim Slade, who's in this battle at the moment in the Lucky 7 car number 47, Stone Brothers Racing. He went back to Adelaide last weekend and played a bit of touch footy, and he's got a massive graunch on his knee and a bit of contact sport there. So he's trying to get involved in some here at the moment, as well as he gets down the inside of Jason Bright.
The guy Shane Van Gisbergen has just been in to see Will Davison, and I'm assuming make apologies for what happened out on the track there. We'll just try and catch up with him. Shane, you went in to have a chat to Will. Just not happy? He's going to have a moment, Shane. It's been a big weekend.
Yeah, it has, Brett, and I'm not surprised that he's gone in with head down there. As we've touched on throughout the coverage today, there's a lot of speculation about the future of Shane Van Gisbergen, so it's when that is compounded out there on the racetrack, it makes for a very difficult weekend. Just in terms of those times, keep an eye on Garth Tander's times versus Whincup. 126.5 last time around for Garth, 126.6. There's really nothing in it in terms of lap times from Garth's car versus Jamie's car. And that's soft versus hard tyres. 6.1 second lead for James Moffat as we look down on Russell Ingall, who's inside the top 5 on lap 14 in race 27 of the series.
Okay, copy that.
another 7 laps at least on these tyres.
Watching the V8 Supercars on 7, and our Mega Wall has it all covered for you. Head down at Jack Daniels Racing in pit lane. Race control already have activated the safety car early on in this race. It's all quiet there for now. On the track, this battle continues to unfold, and Mark Winterbottom is now up to 11th position. Remember, he came straight in when the first safety car was sent out there and went straight onto the soft tyres. Put himself right back into the mix of the mess. He's already had one lucky escape at this part of the circuit, where a little bit further down, in fact, where he clipped Tim Blanchard in an incident that cost Will Davison and both Shane Van Gisbergen their spots and their days, actually.
Yeah, very much so, Matt. Will's just here, just twiddling his thumbs at the moment. Will, Shane Van Gisbergen came in. What did he have to say to you?
Just said he was really sorry. It was all his fault, so it's a bit late for that, unfortunately. So, bloody hell, what can you say?
Disappointing, mate.
Yeah, anyway, tough conditions out there. It was going to be, it was a bit of biff and barge going on, so I was just trying to play it clean, and you get taken out. It's frustrating. You just want to be smart, and you get taken out, so I suppose I shouldn't have been back there, eh?
Regroup for tomorrow, mate. All the best.
So here's Slade up the inside of Fiore. And Dunn took a little while to just get that one complete. But also taking advantage of that is Michael Patrizzi, and Dean got forced high and wide on that curb. But he's got the ideal line now for 5. It's not a nice spot for Michael to be on the outside there. It's very dirty. There's no grip. Direction change is always on. Look at that. Massive slide. Only managed to, at the last moment, get it stopped. Patrizzi got up the inside. Meanwhile, Tim Slade's just skipped away from all this now, in his mind, thankfully.
So would I, mate. I couldn't wait to get out of there either if I was in the middle of that. Dean Fiore has just spent half a lap throwing car 12 from side to side, hitting almost every curb he could find to try and keep the advantage over Michael Patrizzi. And in the end, Patrizzi could just sail by when car 12 got a little bit wide. Here's the sister car out of Dick Johnson Racing. Much better position for Stephen Johnson, whose qualifying could have been a whole stack better. Saw he got walked down at turn 10, where he had to thread the needle between Craig Lowndes and Davey Reynolds.
Great shot there of turn 2. The road cambers away, and the cars pretty quick in that part of the racetrack. They slide up the hill. If you get the car on the wrong side of the curb there, it'll snap violently. We've seen a lot of incidents over a long period of time.
So Junior qualified in 27th position. He's now up to 5th. Michael Patrizzi continues to slot away, this time getting past Rick Kelly. So that's up to 12th for car 91.
From a championship standpoint, it's a battle between Wincup in 3rd at the moment and Winterbottom in 10th. Jamie's on the hard tyre. Frosty's on the soft tyre. Jamie's yet to put the soft tyre on his car. We understand, look at this, out very wide in the weeds, that Frosty will go back onto another soft tyre. But the problem is he doesn't have track position relative to Wincup at the moment, who's about to match him for tyre speed when he steps onto that tyre. So we're watching their lap speed at the moment. Wincup is 11 seconds, 13 odd seconds off the lead of the race, and Winterbottom's 27 seconds off the lead of the race.
Looks like a clear landing coming up for Carl Reindler, and it is. What a difference between the last time we checked out that replay of Steve Owen, who just fell on the inside of the curve and got sprung back up again.
Lap speed-wise, Wincup just did a 27.1. He's still a little bit slower on the hard tyre than both Moffat and Tander, so the soft tyre still giving a yield at the moment. But everybody talked in the lead-up to this race to the soft tyre giving you about 20-odd laps before it really started to drop away. So we're just coming into that critical zone now for the tyre lap speed.
Yeah, and I think at this point, Neil, we should acknowledge what a fantastic job James Moffat is doing out. Just watching his numbers the last 4 or 5 laps, remembering he's a long way into that soft tyre stint, that is really well done by that young bloke. Great effort, and he's giving himself a genuine opportunity to race win here.
Like Shane Van Gisbergen is back in the car. They had a broken front right suspension. As you can see, they're working on that at the moment, but Shane's back in the car and they're hopeful of getting back out on the track.
So busy beavers down at SP Tools. So what's the gap at the front now? It's 10.5 seconds between Moffat and Tander. 11.6 seconds between Wincup and Moffat.
Your best with Tander, mate. You're over half a second a lap quicker.
Okay, Duddo's just done the commentary for us there, so I was about to say that what's happening now is that Garth's beginning to fade. He's reached that critical point with the tyre behaviour. So we're on board here with Jamie. He's still got the hard tyre on, it's still got a bit of longevity. We'll ride, look, learn and listen.
Towards the car, smoking for possible oil, no idea where. Remaining, eyes forward.
There you go, a lap with Jamie Wincup, 3 kilometres of Winton, and he's just creeping closer to the back of Garth Tander there at the moment. This is Frosty and Fabian Coulthard into the last corner, and there's nothing between those two at the moment. Incidentally, Jason Wright's come in and fueled up, and that fuels him to the end. Here's Ingle doing the same thing, so these guys are now fueling to the finish. Steve Owen's done the same.
Reset your bars, 3 on the front, 2.5 on the rear. 3 on the front, 2.5 on the rear.
Rob Starr, his engineer, asking Russell to reset the front and rear anti-roll bars on the car around the different fuel load and a different tyre. As now Wincup is ever closer at turn 9 to the back of Tander, who's really battling on those tyres. A lot of mid-corner push for Tander. He can't touch the throttle either. It won't quite come off the corner to his satisfaction. Graphic tells what you can see, which is that he's all over him.
He'd be better off to come in now. He's at the point where the tyres made that crossover point, and he's lost versus Moffat. He's 12.5 seconds behind now, so You can see there Wincup making the ground on him, and this is exactly what he does.
They were spot on in the count, weren't they? It went right off the cliff on lap 20.
Which, interestingly, is the point where you can get in, that critical point that Mark Larkham talked about, of being able to get in and get the fuel done.
Got a clear run into the box. Clear run into the box.
So Garth just acknowledging, because they haven't got a visual on him there. He just tells them when he's actually in the lane, puts them on standby. Pit lane speed limiter engaged. Then he comes, 4 wheels and tyres, dumps the fuel. He's got to add 53 odd litres of fuel.
Tyres are done. Waiting on fuel. Away you go, mate. All clear. Okay, you're on green hard tyres. Orange light off. Orange light off.
So a good first segment for Garth Tander. Started from 11th. He's right up there in second. And now fueled to the finish.
One of the senior drivers who now, like our colleague in the box here, would have a little groove in this racetrack. He would have done 1 trillion laps of Winton. Sometimes that actually works against you, mitigates against you, because it sort of desensitises you to what you may or may not need. And you can very easily, this is what happens to the local teams here, chase yourself into a set-up foxhole. It's very hard to dig out of.
Again, I'm just overly impressed with the times that James Moffat is punching out. And Neil, you get this, there's Wally Walburn. He's the guy over here. That's him. Just look around at the camera. He's been pacing up and down. He's nearly worn the floor out. He's watching like a hawk. That timing, the difference between when it drops off and when it doesn't. He thinks they're going to get through to lap 23 or 24 before they have to come in. Now, they've got a 12-second buffer. He's nervous. I'm nervous.
He's 27.4 on the last lap, but Wincup did a 27 even on the harder tyre. So the crossover has occurred. Don't want to let too much more of that go before it becomes a problem, because it'll catch you when it all evens out. So near enough to half a second for simple maths is the difference between Wincup and Moffat in favour of Jamie at the moment.
So 12.5-second lead, and basically he's not going to be able to build on that anymore, is he?
That's right, it's over.
It's going to get, that number will get smaller quickly.
And Ian Walburn, the guy that Larko was referring to, is a very famous, he used to work for Alan Moffat, for James' dad. He used to work for Fred Gibson in Nissan Motorsport days. He's been a very experienced engineer and fabricator around the cars for a long, long time. So he's been a very big assistance to James Moffat in terms of his maturity over the last few rounds.
And I think they're bringing him in. He's just looking at the moment. He's very wide at turn 10 as we watch Tim Slade in, outdone. Laconic is the way in which I describe Wally Walburn. He's kind of, I've seen it all, boys. So he's very good. Good for James to keep his heart rate low, give him some valuable engineering tuition. Here we are on board with him now. This is the pit in. They're still on the gas here, and then right here is where they engage. First gear, switch on, 40 kilometres an hour. And that was Wall in the background you can hear.
Will Davison's gone back out there, so they fixed that steering problem, just sent him back out.
So he was on soft tyre, now going to the Dunlop hard. They're waiting for the fuel.
Go, James, go. You're good.
13 odd seconds of fuel to be delivered. He'll reset the brake bias, reset those anti-roll bars at the front and rear, flick off that orange light so we all know what's going on, and set off on his merry way. Now he's got to make it perform consistently on these tyres and look after them a little bit, because though they're harder, don't for a minute think that you can just abuse them. This is a track that's very, very hard on tyres.
Tight. Not good enough. So D'Alberto ahead of Fabian Coulthard.
And remember that Wincup now has gone to the lead of the race, still on the hard tyre, and with pretty good pace. He wants to minimise that window where he has to operate on the soft tyre for the shortest possible time. He's got good track position at the moment, and he's actually leading his teammate by 9.4 seconds in Craig Lowndes.
Thought that was going to be ugly then as the two guys attacked turn 1 coming out of the pit. But D'Alberto and Coulthard get away with it. So Wincup, Lowndes, Winterbottom, Patrizzi, Webb, Kelly, Moffat, Prema, Reynolds, Tander. That's the top 10.
Other thing, Scafie, that that I'm sure they're doing at Team Vodafone at the moment is they're watching Winterbottom. What they don't want to do is get off their tyre too early, put the soft on, and then find themselves degrading the soft tyre earlier than Mark Winterbottom, because that would be a cat and mouse game that could favour Winterbottom now. So remember that Frosty went off the hard tyre very early in the race onto a soft. He's been on it for a while. He's battled through all that traffic, miraculously didn't get clean bowl because everybody around him was playing 10-pin.
Yep.
And he's got through his third. So at the moment he's 12.5 seconds Mark Winterbottom from Jamie Whincup, and they'll both be eyeing each other's data and waiting for one or the other to blink. At the moment, the way the tyre will be behaving on Jamie's car, he can punch on a little bit. So last sector for Whincup was 2/10 slower than the equivalent sector for Mark Winterbottom as we look at Alex Premer.
So this strategic game continues. Soft tyre versus hard tyre. Our championship leader leads this race. He's still got the softs to get onto with just over 20 laps remaining.
Watch that guy in the gut. Go round, go round, go round, go round, go round. Yes, thank you. Sorry, mate. Right, so there's quick stop. Clear exit. You'll have clear exit. Clear exit. Go, 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 go. Guys. Good to go. Off we are. Let's go, boys. Soft tyres, cold soft tyres, 22 laps to go, 1 lap shorter than the last 10, mate, so push on hard. There's still guys out there doing laps.
Got you there, mate. So got you 4 tyres. These are softies, so I can get that light on, please, mate. Got a nice lead into the box, we'll take advantage of it. We'll send you on your merry way again. Front of car looks good, boys. Just got a dirty moustache hanging off it. Okay, just waiting on fuel. Nothing in pit lane's going to really bother us. Good to go. See you.
Welcome back. That's a critical moment. So Jamie Whincup has now processed through pit lane. So he will have 21 laps to do on this soft tyre.
So he'll have a tyre that ends up having to do a lap less than Frosty. Frosty's been out there for a lap on his soft tyre, looking to try and get a little gain from that undercut. There was a fair old air gap between them, though, for a while. It's going to be a very difficult task for Winterbottom to get at him.
And there's 8 seconds effectively between them. Just the 2 stops before. Craig Lowndes. It's a little bit of drama there in the background with Winterbottom, wasn't there?
Yeah, Chris O'Toole said go round, but Frosty had already committed to driving through someone else's pit bay. It wasn't really a drama, just looked a bit weird. Away he went. So that was a lap earlier than Jamie Whincup. We just saw his stop there. And he came out just behind Craig. They did the windscreen tear off there as well.
And it instantly put Mark Winterbottom into a fight with Lee Holdsworth, who was approaching pretty quickly up to turn 1. So Winterbottom's done a good job to hold that position, get up to speed and get those tyres up to temperature super quick. So your top 10 is this.
That's what I'm trying to do.
James Moffat.
Well, you're on the big bucks.
Jamie Whincup is second. They're enjoying every minute of it. Garth Tander is third, Russell Ingall is fourth, then it's Lowndes, Mark Winterbottom, Lee Holdsworth, Stevie Johnson, Tim Slade and Tony D'Alberto.
I'm sure of the wisdom of turn one braking comedy between these two when you try to figure out where to pull up. But it's good. They've got a great rapport and it's reflected in his performance at the moment. James Moffat and his engineer. Here comes Frosty up the inside of Steve Owen between turns 2 and 3.
Pass.
Yeah, nicely done. It was a very important moment for Frosty when he came out to hold Lee Holdsworth at bay, who had warm tyres and was ready to have a crack and get him. So here's the replay of the Whincup stop. It's all pretty textbook, really. They got their wheels and tyres on easily, and then they just put the required fuel in, and away he went.
It's a great shot, isn't it?
So the left front waves to the crowd down there, not a lot of wear. But it always amazes me just how much load you see going through the rubber and through the suspension of the car in these shots that we've been showing you this year.
And sometimes what happens too, Crombo, you know, you would have felt it yourself when the left-hand wheel actually catches the inside. If it doesn't bounce the car, it actually hooks the car. So it almost tries to add grip by grabbing the wheel and guiding it around the corner.
When you get that trajectory right, it's quite smooth, good, smooth feeling in the car. So here's Moffat, 9.9 seconds the gap at last count to Jamie Whincup. He's on the hard tyre. Jamie Whincup's now on a fresh, young, soft tyre.
So this race is effectively being cleansed. Everyone will make it home from here. And as we said, roughly the same lap distance on the soft tyre for Whincup as the previous stint from Winterbottom. Track position is king here. Neil Crompton said it from the start of the telecast that you've really got to use your brain. As you see Craig Lowndes dive down the inside of Russell Ingall at turn 3. And Lowndes very fast on the previous lap.
And that's why my eyebrows went up when FPR decided to bring Mark Winterbottom in and do the double stint, or not double stint, but to double up on the soft tyre. Because then you just play a much riskier game with traffic. You put a lot of faith in a lot of other guys out there to play your game and help you along. Of course, they'll do anything but that.
Well, we saw how lucky he was to get away with that one when Van Gisbergen and Davison come together, and the spinning Jack Daniels car could have actually put Mark Winterbottom out of it in one go.
Frosty down the inside, having a look at turn 10 on Russell Ingall, and gee, you don't see that very often, but he made it stick. There's actually a little bit of damage I saw on the rear bumper also of Frosty's car, so it won't come home totally unscathed, that car. Russell was kind to him then at turn 10. He saw him in the end and just stayed up high. He'll know in communication with Rob Starr, and he'll see the orange light anyway, that Frosty's got the tyre advantage.
That was the damage on the left-hand rear. You can see that from those
there it is,
contacts here.
Yeah, so a lot of push and shove, and it's a very short step between pointing the right way and the wrong way of V8 supercar. But he's batting on there at the moment, so he's fifth, Mark Winterbottom. Moffat, Whincup, Tander, Lowndes are in front. Your observation about Jason Bright's so right. You know, had the soft tyre on, qualified well, was expected to do well, and then in a matter of seconds it all got ugly for him. It all went wrong when the clutch started to grab on the line. Now Winterbottom, meantime, has just done the fastest split to the first sector on this lap. And intermediate 1 is just on the approach to turn 5. It's our sweeper in the middle of the complex. Rick Kelly down the inside and cleanly through on Carl Reindler. That's for 17th. It's a really good fresh air run for James Moffat here, 8.2 seconds. Got the whole length of the back straight on Jamie Whincup at the moment. And meantime, these guys continue at it. Lowndes and Tander. Lowndes having a look down the inside at 11. He's well positioned for it.
Just got there, well done. Tander tries to do the crisscross, but Tander's on the hard tyre, so there's nowhere near enough front grip or accuracy to get the car back the other side once you have that momentum.
Now listen, you couple of experts over there in your air-conditioned comms box. What lap, how far from the end is Jamie going to pull up on the back of James Moffat's bumper? Given that James doesn't mind a bit of contact, we've seen that. Jamie's got a championship to think about. Predictions?
Geez, you're a trouble stirrer.
Come on.
But I love the way you think, Larko.
Predictions?
Early 40s, Larko, about half a dozen from home.
What a good finish this is going to be. Now, Jamie is seriously going to think about his championship here. It's going to be great.
You're right. The other thing,
I've forgotten that we'd gone back to school.
It was a complex question, wasn't it? I mean, when he started on, what lap's that going to be?
I'm only any good with multiple choice anyway.
that's
You've got to
Winterbottom.
phone a friend. You just haven't got any.
Hey, there's a race going on here, knuckleheads. Winterbottom just got past Gart Tander. So it's interesting too that Craig Lowndes is just a step ahead of Mark Winterbottom. So effectively, Jamie Whincup has a bit of cover here.
It's a question of sport.
It's been a long season, hasn't
Isn't it? Exactly.
7 seconds is the gap for James Moffat over Jamie Whincup. Lowndes is in third. You're riding with Mark Winterbottom in fourth. So this is absolutely crucial for Mark Winterbottom to shadow Jamie Whincup as much as he can, stay with him as much as he can, because he needs to make sure, Winterbottom needs to make sure that he's within 300 points at the end of this weekend.
That last lap back was 1.3 seconds, so 26.7 to a 25.4. So we'll track this Whincup charge towards Moffat. The gap that he's got now is in turn 5. He's in the big fast sweeper, one of the most traditional and flowing corners in Australia, and just up behind. So that's into turn 8, and just there, that's the gap.
That's 6.1 seconds, and in the course of that last sector that we were just watching, Jamie Whincup got another 0.3 of a second advantage over Moffat. So there goes Lowndes and Winterbottom. Then it's Tander and Lee Holdsworth. That's your top 6.
I'm going to seasonally adjust my figures.
Yes.
Oh, you want to revamp your...
You're going to go early.
Yeah,
I'm tipping lap 40.
It's going to happen earlier. On those numbers that Scafie just rolled out a moment ago, it's probably he's going to be close to him in next
36.
Yeah, that's right. Next 4 or 5 laps, he's going to be there.
Come on, then. Let's play Larko's game. Larko, I'll
You
go
guys
lap
are kidding me.
40.
I've been standing down here waiting for an answer. You blokes won't go out on a limb, and you've got a calculator out. Fair income. Hey?
Well, what's yours then?
Sorry, headmaster.
Lap 40.
Okay.
Oh, lap 40.
40, 41.
We don't have the benefit of a whiteboard, so we have to...
Or a tech centre. We haven't got a tech centre.
You know what we need? A break, a breather. But Jamie Whincup is closing in on James Moffat.
Great work. Tander next. Tander, 4 seconds. Complete, 14 to go. 13.
Still plenty of positions being fought for here right across this 3-kilometre circuit and the sunny skies at Winton, but it's the battle at the front that's starting to get very intriguing. 13 laps to go. 1.4 seconds now is the difference between James Moffat and Jamie Whincup. You're riding with David Reynolds against 17th position. Looking out to Jason Bright, whose day could have been so much better.
He'll be quiet this weekend, hasn't he, David?
I'll just correct that. That was Dean Fiore behind Davey, and then Bright's 2 further back. So up towards the front we go. This is Mark Winterbottom, 4th, looking ahead to Craig Lowndes. Ahead of Lowndes is Whincup, who is right now on the hammer of James Moffat. on lap 35, Neil.
Thank you.
I think Marco's question was when were they going to tap?
You're a freak. Seriously.
So he wasted no time. I mean, that's the net result of all that.
As he's formed in the commentary box, he starts pointing to 35. He's a very, very good winner. He's a very below average loser, but a very, very good winner.
Mate, when he gets past, you just try and stay with him.
Good advice there from Walt. So he tucks in. James Moffat tucks in behind Jamie. Plays along for the ride. Good place to be. This is potentially a ripping result for James. There's a lot to play for here. A good, cool head, low heart rate. Real accuracy with the car is going to give him a dividend.
He's never been on a V8 Supercar podium. His best result is 4th twice on the Gold Coast last year. And Aaron Noonan's just pointed out the last time a Moffat was on the podium, 1988, Lakeside, May 22. 24 years ago, Allen finished 3rd that day.
The other thing to just bear in mind here, depending on how you use your tyres and precisely the pressures you started with and how much you've got to lean on the car to get certain results out of it, it's not done yet. You know, they've got to get to the end of this. We've got to see how this trends out for those that are on the soft tyre, and they include Whincup, Lowndes, Winterbottom, Holdsworth. They've got to make them get to the end. So James is on the hard tyre. That still could phase back his way a little bit later in this argument. It's not impossible.
And the reason we have a countdown clock above our lap counter there is because this is a timed race. It's got to get to quarter past the hour local time, plus 1 lap to finish. So it's a race against the clock, if you like, but Whincup is looking good on this Saturday afternoon to stretch his lead at the moment. Provisional championship lead, if it stayed like this, would be over 300 points between Whincup and Winterbottom.
Just want to try and grab a quick word, if I can, with Ian Wally Warburn. Hey, Walt, mate, we're really impressed the way James is driving today. And it's not over yet. He's on hard tyres. Still 12 laps to go.
Oh, yeah, it's certainly. We played a bit of a reverse psychology with the tyres, hoping that we could hang with the 888 guys. It worked for a while, and we knew this would be on at the end. And James is just driving so well in the Norton DJR Falcon.
Well, I've got to ask you, something's obviously changed because the last couple of races, James has really stepped up another level. I mean, obviously the dynamic between the two of you is working well.
Oh, yeah, James and I do well work together. Obviously, I've known James since he was a little boy, so we have a bit of a little history there. But he's just maturing every time he gets in the car. He's thinking about it. I've been trying to get to him that if you show the other guys respect, they'll show you, and you'll be able to race clean up the front. And that's how it's been for him in the last few races.
Really good lesson for every young bloke listening. Well done, mate. Good luck for the rest of the race.
See you, Marco. Thank you.
That is a very good lesson, and that's a very wise head with Ian Warburn saying that to James. He's been caught up in too many dramas and too many contacts throughout this year, and probably some of that's come from qualifying, Neil, hasn't it, where you qualify too far back. But the last few race meetings, when you get up towards the front and you do show that level of respect, it does make a big difference in terms of what the outcome is, and this is a great example.
And what's going to happen here is that Mark Winterbottom is going to grab James, and then it'll cleanse for a while, and then the trick will be for James to try and keep it as straight as he can, to have as much fighting power left in those harder tyres of his in the end phase of their life back into this race. This is on the run to turn 5, very fast sweeper in the mid-section. Seems like an eternity where you're off the throttle, waiting for the car just to settle down and give you some return response and grip from the nose.
is the slowest section. 80 kilometres an hour for the left-hander, and then the slowest corner on the track, 65 kilometres an hour. This is a punishing long apex, constant radius, tightening at the last part, and use that burn on the outside to catch the car. This is the section we've seen some drama today under brakes, turn 10. Looking back at Mark Winterbottom, and you can see that drive off the corner was very good for Moffat then.
And 9, 11 where they are now, in the last corner 12, all second gear, and you squeeze the throttle down even another few percent over and above what the tyre and the car will really want to accept, and you really hurt the tyre. It's one of the things you've got to really instill into yourself when you come to Winton and the boys deal with these conditions that we've got here at the moment. It's quite warm, quite slippery, is that you've got to use the patience chip. And if you stamp on the throttle and slide the car here, literally within a lap or two, times just completely plummet.
Right now with Whincup leading and Winterbottom 4th, championship difference is 326 points. Winterbottom gets past James Moffat in the next 8 or so laps. The difference will be 317 points. So they're playing a very fine line. Ford Performance Racing, and for that matter, Team Vodafone. But Jamie Whincup looks as though he's done it again here. He's already won 11 races this season.
Well, how's the thing? He pops the clutch, off the line he goes. By the time they grabbed second gear, he's leading the race, and he's had command of it since then. Now, it's hard work for Frosty, this mission at the moment, because we're seeing that he doesn't really have a lot of gain. In fact, if anything, they're quite even in their lap speed performance at the moment.
And then I want a gap number of 0.35.
Campbell Little on the radio to Mark Winterbottom in the background. We only intercepted the back end of that. But
Just repeated on the straight.
There you go. So that'll be handy for all of us, including Frosty.
I'm off, and then I want a fuel number of 0.35.
Fuel number 0.35. So whatever coding they use for that would be to ensure they make it home based on fuel consumption, which shouldn't really be too big a drama. I wouldn't have thought it would really stop, but pretty healthy battle here with a couple of Techno cars.
Twin Techno attack on Fabian Coulthard. So both Patrizzi and Jono Webb go past. Michael up to 9th, Jono into 10th, Fabian back to 11th.
And after we went off air in Abu Dhabi, the stewards levied an exclusion penalty on Jonathan Webb for being off the track too much in that race up there. As now Frosty dives down the inside and gets it done at 7. And that'll be relief in the garage at Ford Performance Racing. They'll be worried in there about how long that's taken. And because there's the reason why, because Lee Holdsworth was buying in to this little battle very rapidly.
Probably behind that then, behind Holdsworth, there's a fair gap. It's almost 9 seconds back to Slade. So Moffat's protected. He'll lose this spot to Holdsworth, but then after that, that's about the end of the slippery slide for James Moffat. So Whincup, Lowndes, Winterbottom, Moffat, Holdsworth, Slade, Tander, D'Alberto, Patrizzi, Webb.
Under 7 minutes remaining, so this one won't go the distance lap-wise.
Got some pep back in his step, Lee Holdsworth. He had a difficult period of adjustment coming to terms with the Irwin Tools car at Stone Brothers Racing, and that was a bit of a moment for James then. I heard the thing actually lock up, and it was a little unstable under brakes into 1, so he started to push on a bit then with the pressure that he was getting from Holdsworth, who now looks down the inside. This is starting to be awkward.
I thought he was going to turn down on him then. I thought that he didn't quite have that move done, and I thought there was going to be contact there at turn 3, so lucky to get away with that. You don't need to be one wide at that corner. It's got a very sort of camber adjusted apex for it. As soon as you're wide, it tends to run the car over the exit apex or exit curb, and easy to fall off the road on the left, so he got away with that one. And as I said, that's about now at 5th. If you look just behind, you'll see Slade is the next driver, but he's a long way back.
It starts with this tank slapper right here. There we go. Look at the rear brakes well locked. So, in fact, it was more than I thought when we had the external shot. I heard it on the onboard, and I noticed that the rear brakes had locked. But externally, it looked a bit spooky. Paul Morris on the right, Ian Walburn on the left.
It's a tough game, isn't it? James Moffat starts 5th, leads the race for a long time, does all the fighting, does everything right. 40-odd laps later, Ends up back in 5th again, but it's been a terrific day, and that's a good 5th that he'll remember.
Still a good result, and it's good company to be racing in.
Yep.
You know, he's away from all that mid and backpack stuff where you just end up getting whacked. So any time where you're in the top half of the top 10 in this field, you're doing very well.
Just have a listen here through the sweeper, the way that this guy treats the throttle. It's part throttle, off the throttle, part throttle, part throttle. Has not got back to full throttle at all in that whole phase. Watch the way that this happens now. Nice. Smooth progression on the throttle. Again, this is 80k. Just have a look at the last corner. This is the one where you've got to be really patient. Put the nose in. Nice and gentle. Not one little bit of opposite lock. Not one steering correction. Not one transfer of throttle back out of the car as he modulates both the throttle and the brake to get the car in and then off the corner. His technique is just fantastic, and one of the things that happens about this sort of very accurate and low grip surface racetrack is your accuracy and the level that you drive the car at needs to be monitored and carefully handled in terms of the way the drivers treat the car.
Great driving, mate. Smooth and consistent.
And that's what he is, smooth and consistent. That's exactly what Jamie Winton is.
There's no fight between driver and car. That's the classic case of driver and car being at one.
Battle going on here at the moment between Davey Reynolds and Rick Kelly. These guys are fighting over 13th. Interestingly, I think Winterbottom's driving to a fuel number here at the moment, and he could be vulnerable to Lee Holdsworth in the battle for 3rd and 4th. We think that maybe they just took the opportunity to try and short fill Winterbottom to try and do what they could to recover some ground, but if the net result is at the moment, he's actually, it sounds from what I'm hearing on the radio as though he's driving to a number.
I agree, and he come in on 25 and Holdsworth come in on 23, so it doesn't make any sense. If they haven't filled it or haven't put enough fuel in at that point. Yeah,
remember, he came in with Craig Lowndes. They were stationary for exactly the same time, and Lowndes doesn't appear to be driving to a number.
Just my eyebrows went up when I heard Campbell talking about Frosty needing to drive to a fuel number. I wouldn't have thought that was a requirement. But at the moment, for whatever reason, it may not be fuel. It could just be tyres. It might be tyre degradation. He's lost a little bit of performance, and he could lose a spot here.
And at this stage of the season, like we keep saying, every spot counts in terms of championship points for Mark Winterbottom.
Yeah, well read, Neil. I just had a chat to Tim Edwards, team principal there. He said we were a little aggressive in our fuel stop. So, yep, they are driving to a number.
So we're on board now with Mark Winterbottom and watching Lee Holdsworth coming at him. And it's great to see the body language and the way the guys approach this, because you watch down here at turn 1 and how accurate you've got to be at this curve and the apex.
To decode that for folks at home when you talk about an aggressive fuel strategy, what they're talking about there is they just don't want him to stand still in the pit too long. So every second that you sit there, you deliver another 4 odd litres of fuel. But if you pluck the filler off early and you send him, at least you can get him back in the race. But the danger is if you don't have enough of the stuff, you've got to lean down either the fuel mixture or you've got to drive slower. So at the moment, Frosty's vulnerable because he's having to drive a bit slower.
Isn't it interesting? You see there, Lee Holdsworth, the car's not sharp enough. It doesn't make the apex well enough.
Yeah, and Neil, to add further than that, it's not necessarily a mistake they've made, because there could have been someone bearing down on them in the pit lane, and sometimes you need to release the car a little early because you're in the hunt for a championship, and you may say, well, we might get a safety car, we can conserve fuel. So I wouldn't say they've made a mistake. It may well have been a strategy.
Oh, indeed. It's actually all part of the ebb and flow of competing with those that are in and around you in the caper. So they're playing their best cards. There's a lot of very bright people down there. Done this for a very long period of time. They're doing everything they can to try and attack Jamie Whincup in this battle,
which only has a minute plus 1 lap remaining. Whincup has a 2.8 second lead over his teammate Craig Lowndes. We can see Mark Winterbottom continuing this hold-off fight against Lee Holdsworth. There's our top 2. There's the gap. Waiting. There he is. So Mark Winterbottom is going to have a super job ahead of him tomorrow to make sure that this title fight goes to the streets of Sydney.
So we just looked at the numbers, and Mark Winterbottom was stationary for 2 seconds less than Craig Lowndes.
Okay. Well, there you go.
So talking about 8
litres.
6 to 8 litres of fuel.
And Moffat just has maintained. He's got a 4.6 second lap gap there to Slade. So Slade has actually made about half of that gap back. Look at the understeer that I keep on referring to at the last corner coming out of there, and the amount of lock that he's got on it.
And the marbles flying. We're seeing them from Mark Winterbottom's car. You see the amount of rubber that's floating off that car at the moment because they're all near the end of their tyre life here. Soft tyres beginning to...
Yo, gap 3.1.
So this will be effectively the last lap.
I'm going to be really interested here to listen in for Jamie Whincup's reaction on this one, because that really is, or this really will be, one hand on the championship trophy stuff. But I got a feeling that there won't be any over-the-top celebration at all. No. It'll be super focused until tomorrow.
And technically they can't clean up until Sydney in case there's a penalty there and all those sorts of things anyway, so they'll keep the cork in the bottle. Hey, we haven't said a lot about this, but you've got to be appreciative of the fact that Lowndes has done a great job in his crew to pull one out of the fire here, because when you consider that he qualified 15th to now potentially be on the podium, and here he is, that is a mighty performance.
It certainly is. We said he was in the mid-pack. He was disappointed after qualifying. He's done a great job to get through.
Back to that pit stop that Mark Winterbottom and FPR took a little gamble on being out of there 2 seconds earlier. They tried to get around Craig Lowndes. He came in behind Lowndes. He went out behind Lowndes. So they had a crack at it. It didn't come off in terms of position.
The level of concentration, Matt, it's unbelievable, isn't it?
Well, this will be race win number 12 of 2012 for Jamie Whincup. It will put him 300 plus points ahead of Mark Winterbottom with 3 races to go this season, and Whincup edges closer and closer to a 4th title. Lowndes comes in second. Winterbottom should do enough to hold off Lee Holdsworth. Only just. Oh, it's not over yet. Done with yet. I reckon Holdsworth got him.
Fuel.
Yep.
Oh, he's out of fuel, and Holdsworth did get him.
It did. There was nothing in that.
It coughed on the last corner.
Like 3,000. Yeah, Josh, I don't know where you're going to stop.
It coughed on the last corner and wouldn't accelerate, and then they both jinked. Lee grabbed him in the end. So Whincup the winner by 3.2 seconds from his teammate Lowndes. Watch this. Last corner. At this stage we thought you could put the glasses down. Not the case.
Just there. Oh. That means that the championship difference between Whincup and Winterbottom is now 326 points. It also means that Lee Holdsworth, this little cough and splutter, will get his first SBR podium.
Yeah, you can just hear that.
Just
the judder.
Hesitation, yeah.
And it was like, it was literally 50 metres from the line.
He's not going to get all the way around. He's got nowhere to go. Extraordinary finish to this race, and Jamie Whincup's done it again. In fact, Team Vodafone's done it again, a 1-2. Holdsworth up onto the podium for the first time in his stint at Stone Brothers Racing. James Moffat qualified 5th, led the race for quite a way, and ends up 5th as well. And David Reynolds pushed hard to try and be part of the top 10. He ends up in 11th spot. Jason Bright started on the 2nd row of the grid, missed the start, involved in contact, and finishes down in 20th spot. As we take a look at David Reynolds giving his stablemate a ride home. A little bit of help for the Bottle-O entry. So let's take a look at the highlights of this race. So you'll remember that Winterbottom started on pole and Whincup started alongside him. Whincup got a really good jump. Winterbottom was bogged down, but then James Moffat gets into the side of Jason Bright in the exit of turn 2, but then at turn 3, Bright gets spun around because James Courtney had nowhere to go. Also, Michael Caruso would end up in the dirt. That was a really hairy call between Moffat and Whincup on approach down towards turn 11. This soft tyre, hard tyre mix would see Will Davison out of the race, and so too Shane Van Gisbergen. Will had steering dramas, and Shane had a flat front right tyre. And this was the time when Moffat had it all to his own. He did a good job as well. Then he would come on and go onto hard tyres, while Whincup would go onto soft tyres to finish the race. And they started to mow through the field, as you'd expect. Guys on the softer compound, much more speed at the back end of the race. That was the move that got Jamie Whincup into the lead on lap 35. And then Craig Lowndes would get up into second as well. Mark Winterbottom and Lee Holdsworth would join the fray in the attack on James Moffat. Another race victory for Whincup, 326 points ahead provisionally over Mark Winterbottom. Then just out of nowhere, didn't see it coming, but Winterbottom runs out a puff, literally at the line, and Holdsworth gets him for position 3.
The boys.
So closer and closer.
That all run down there, Matt. That's how enthusiastic they are. It's fantastic.
1 and 2. There's been a calm feel over Jamie Whincup this weekend. He's all business here. His teammate will be bouncing around as per usual. And David Reynolds has done a good job to get Frosty back towards pit lane, and the crew had to do the rest. And Lee Holdsworth.
Great for Lee to be on the podium. Matt did a really good job. His performance in the last couple of rounds has been very, very good.
He started from 6th and came home on the soft tyre.
Hey, Jamie Whincup, congratulations. As Matt White said earlier, that is one hand on the championship trophy. I know you're not celebrating yet, but that's a big step forward.
Yeah, hey, tough race. Strategy-wise, you know, everyone was going everywhere at the start. And, halfway through the race, I just asked Dutto to give me a bit of an update on what was going on, because I had no idea. I was just head down, pushing hard. But when it all worked itself out, we're in the top position and was able to bring it home.
Tick another big box on this championship. Jamie, well done. Congratulations.
Yeah, every point's vital now. Thanks. Cheers.
Good stuff. Craig Lowndes, well, what a performance from 15th on the grid up to 2nd spot on the podium, mate. Congratulations. That was a super drive.
Yeah, thanks, Barrett. I think that's, look, the crowd, I think, enjoyed the race today. I did. You know, obviously that soft tyre and hard tyre combination really works well for us. We basically duplicated what we did at Darwin. We qualified poorly, but we raced well. Hopefully tomorrow we can start a bit further up.
Super stuff, Lowndesy. Congratulations. Well done.
Thanks, Barrett.
And Lee Holdsworth, congratulations. What a finish to that race. You and Frosty were slugging it out for those last few laps, and just by the narrowest of margins, you got him on the line.
Yeah, I knew he was saving fuel, so I was just trying to get close enough in the braking zone, but turned out I didn't have enough. But as I came out of the last corner, I think his car had a bit of a chug. I got a bit of a side draft and got down beside him for the podium, so I'm bloody stoked. We've been waiting for a podium all year. Awesome job by all the Irwin Racing boys.
Jump up there and enjoy it, Lee. Well done.
Thank you. Cheers.
Guy we really need to grab a chat with, mate. I hate having these chats, Frosty, but we thought that was a great drive, got there. Obviously a little tight on the fuel stop, mate.
Yeah, we obviously missed the number there somehow, but yeah, we stopped early, went out of sequence, and that also puts you in amongst the carnage. But after all the carnage that went on, we still got back to a position. I was catching loud. Car was good, and then you get the fuel number. So I thought I had Holdsworth. That's cruel when he coughs on the line, but yeah, it is what it is. We ended up 4th. It salvaged something that could have been stopped on the track, and then Davey gave me a tow back and pushed me back.
All right, mate, good luck for tomorrow. There's always someone.
Cheers.
So Mark Winterbottom 326 points behind now, and there's 450 points now left on the table for the season, so it's going to be a big job. Let's go up to the podium with Mark Beretta.
This famous circuit, Winton Motor Raceway, our 27th race of the year. Would you please congratulate, in first place for Team Vodafone, Jamie Whincup. In second place, Team Vodafone's Craig Lowndes. And in third place for Irwin Racing, Lee Holdsworth. Representing the winning team, Team Vodafone, is David Couch. Making the presentation to third place is the Chief Operating Officer of V8 Supercars, Shane Howard. Presenting to second place, Account Manager for Telstra Business, Simon McDonald. Making the presentation to our winning team is the Chief Executive Officer of V8 Supercars, David Malone. And presenting the first place trophy, Australia's first bloke and patron of the Australian Men's Shed Association, Tim Matheson. Ladies and gentlemen, your 2012 Winton Motor Raceway Race 27 winners.
So Jamie Whincup accepts the trophy from the partner of our Prime Minister, Julia Gillards, and Tim Matheson, a big supporter of V8 Supercars. Whincup started this season with the first race win of the year, but it's been the back end where he's really made this championship stick. Over the last 9 races, Jamie has won 7 of them now at the right time, and that's the difference. That's why he now has a 326-point lead over Mark Winterbottom going into the final 3 races of season 2012.